Elon Musk knows why the Cybertruck window failed, allegedly.
And who's excited about Nickelodeon content coming to CBS All Access?
We are.
Stay tuned for your Daily Charge.
Welcome to the Daily Charge. It's Tuesday, November 26th. I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And I'm Mike Sorrentino.
And let's get to today's headlines. Do you guys remember the Tesla Cybertruck? I mean, of course you do. It seems as though everyone has an opinion of the angular vehicle. At the unveiling, Elon Musk wanted to show off how strong the Cybertruck was. So they took a sledgehammer to it. Then there was a demo of the Tesla armor glass. A fellow threw a metal ball at the armor glass window at the Cybertruck and it cracked. Twice. Elon Musk explained what happened in a tweet. He says the, quote, sledgehammer impact on door cracked base of glass, which is why steel ball didn't bounce off. Should have done steel ball on window, then sledgehammer the door. Next time. Mike, did Elon Musk just explain how to break into every Cybertruck in the future?
And perhaps like personal property right now that you should not do. It's illegal. Elon Musk, I think he has this art to the press conferences. They fall apart on him a lot. Mm-hmm. I remember when they were describing, I think it was self-driving technology, they put a person on stage who was an engineer but wasn't briefed on how to media train through explaining it to normal people. So I remember he came out and was like, hey, we're going through a lot of like different like aspects, but to boil it down, it's going to be really cool. I remember him having to like sort of like by surprise seem to boil down. Yeah,
these demonstrations usually go poorly. Do you think it's by design at this point? Like, is this like the gimmick? Because like the Cybertruck's image alone got people talking. It didn't matter that the windows broke or it could take a sledgehammer hit, or if it can or not pull a Ford F-150 up a hill that's pulling the other way. It's just that. Do they need these stunts to get people talking?
I just continually picture when he sold the flamethrower using Instagram by running at the camera and how irresponsible that was. So it seems to be their shtick at this point. They're always ready for contingencies. Like, I don't think they purposely broke the glass in the truck, but...
Well, they had to stand there awkwardly and be like, yeah, that's strong. You want to believe it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah, back to R&D just a little bit.
Maybe that's why it has such a low
but it's sold. It's still sold. So it's like, I don't know, like Tesla seems to be able to sell anything. Elon Musk in particular, between his different companies, seems to be able to sell anything branded somehow.
Yeah, that car though, polarizing to say the least.
It looks like a bad Back to the Future thing, but again, like 144,000-ish pre-orders. I had that number wrong, I'm sure, but it was still insane.
Now let's talk about streaming. Next up, CBS All Access is getting more children's programming with Nickelodeon content coming in January. Disclosure time, Nickelodeon is owned by Viacom, which is set to merge with CBS in December. CBS is the parent of CNET. Mike and I are not related.
Not to our knowledge.
Okay. Back to the news. That'd be a totally different news story. The press release mentioned that All Access now has new seasons of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and the new Danger Mouse. All CBS All Access kids programming will be available without commercials. There is no information as to which Nick properties are coming to the service. Maybe SpongeBob, but that's unknown. Mike, how many of these streaming services can the market really stand? Should have Nick just done their own just by themselves, even though they're Viacom and everything else?
It's so confusing. Nickelodeon in particular just announced a deal with Netflix. And they've had some direct to Netflix movies over the past few months with a Rocko's Modern Life movie and Invader Zim movie. It's just the game now. You could either have a service or you could play between multiple services, and that's across the entertainment industry at large now. Like, some people are still making shows for traditional television and at the same time have a Netflix deal as well and are able to swing both sides. In this case, we don't know exactly which Nickelodeon shows are going to be coming to CBS All Access right now. We know of some classic ones like Inspector Gadget and Madeline was in the release. Bob the Builder, I think, is the one with the most episodes of the most notoriety at the very least.
Notorious, yes. That Bob the Builder always hitting things with hammers.
Yes. We were going before we went live, like the network history of that. There's a lot of networks that Bob the Builder has been on. It's just the game. Like, everyone's trying to lock down different content deals, and will they all survive? Probably not, but it's a long game for everybody right now.
Yeah, I think a smart play would be to see these things not exclusively running on one thing or the other. I don't know if the deal said it was exclusive or not, whatever programming is showing up. Ooh. Because a lot of Nickelodeon stuff is on Hulu right now, and Disney owns the lion's share of that. So will Nickelodeon's TMNT disappear from it once it's on All Access, or what's going on there? Because there's nothing saying, and I know this sounds wild, nothing saying you can't have your content on multiple services. Like, what's the harm in that?
Yeah, I honestly don't think anything in it said the word exclusive. I'm looking at the press release right now just to double check as fast as I can, which can mean, yeah, that Nickelodeon content could live on multiple platforms based on what that audience is. Like, there was some animated shows that I was watching on Hulu for a time that I believe are still there. Mm-hmm. The Netflix movies I mentioned earlier. There's another service, it's called The Splat, but it's within another service inside of it where you can watch just classic Nickelodeon shows as well.
The Splat?
I believe it's called The Splat.
That sounds about right.
I need to check. But if you Google Nickelodeon Classic Service, you'll find it. And I think it's like between 5 and 7 and is just those 90s shows that people grew up with. However, if you really like those 90s shows, you can also buy them probably at a cheaper rate than paying per month on it.
And you would know where it is.
Yes.
If you buy it, you're like, oh, yes, it's that one service. If you're interested in CBS All Access, there's no free version. There's a $6 one with limited commercials or with commercials, $10 without commercials. Although I'm always a fan of services, including Hulu, which has done this, no ads for kids shows, because that's somewhat irresponsible and insane, because you're like, oh, great, let's buy that new thing. And lastly, let's look at some renders of the Galaxy S11. 91 Mobiles is working with OnLeaks to put together these images. Let's take a look at them. They definitely look like Samsung styling. They look like there's a big rectangular camera array on the back. The post says the handset could have as many as 5 sensors on the back. 3 of them would be cameras. 1 would be a time of flight sensor. The last one is a mystery. Mike, what do you think of this? Okay, let's focus on the thing that most people will look at, the camera bump. Mm-hmm. It's huge. It's massive. 5
cameras, 1 rectangle. It's almost like, why? Like, at this point, if you're going to keep cramming in more and more sensors, I remember a few years ago, Amazon had put out a phone that wasn't shy at all about having cameras all over the place. To be fair, that phone was trying to create a 3D effect by using the cameras to scan your face, but it was still like a lot of cameras inside of a phone. You may as well like maybe spread them out. When you're pointing a camera at a person, it's the whole back of the phone anyway. So why not spread them out a little bit? Unless there's maybe there's a hand crunch thing, perhaps. I don't know.
Maybe you could just have a hand cutout, and then everywhere else between the fingers are the cameras. Because the other thing is, Samsung's actually had more elegant designs when it comes to their camera arrays on the back. They used to have this simple strip that was running across the device. Mm-hmm. This moving to the side kind of positioning seems more like what Google has done, what Apple's done. I don't know why there's this dead set idea of moving it to this asymmetrical thing as opposed to doing this in a centered location. Why is this happening?
Also, why this many cameras at this point? Like, I feel like when you do that, you also, especially if you're doing it on your mainstream phone, you need to tell the customer what's the point of them. I remember Nokia had a phone a few years back that I think moved up to like 6 or 7 cameras on the back. But in testing, it didn't take... It was like, yeah, there's this many cameras on it, but it didn't take that much better of a photo.
Yeah, more is definitely not necessarily better when it comes to camera phones or cameras on phones, because it's all about how the software puts together the images. Because if you have different exposures for different cameras, you got black and white, dedicated sensors, you got all of these different things, you could have a really great image. Google's shown that off with 1 camera on the Pixel for the longest time. So I think, though, Samsung is probably preying on the idea of, we've got lots and lots of cameras, and hopefully that means their AR will be better, their depth sensing will be better, their portrait images would be better. But, I mean, it definitely style-wise looks pedestrian for Samsung.
It's also worth noting, I think, because it's Black Friday week anyway, like, if there have been phones that have had like ridiculously high megapixel counts on their cameras, but as you mentioned with software, if the software doesn't put the image together well, there's no point then. Like, you could have a 48 megapixel sensor in your camera, but it doesn't do anything if it comes out looking bad when you actually want to post it and send it to a family member.
So we'll find out when this is released, February or March. Of course, like
If it's real.
Yes, if that's real, because who knows?
This is a report.
Maybe Samsung will be like, we're not doing any more S phones. That's it. It's over. What do you guys think? Do you think that Muskie's story checks out? What were/are your favorite Nicktoons? And what's your opinion on Samsung's S11? At least these pictures are of them allegedly, or these are renders based on ideas. Sound off in the chat, and Brian will pick out the best questions to keep the conversation going. He refuses to read the worst questions, so try your best.
Allegedly. I want to point out allegedly. Shouting out to our international buddies in Paris, Scotland, Maine, DC, London, and all over the place. And I want to use that as a segue to backpedal into the CBS All Access streaming stuff where we're talking about Nickelodeon content. We know that CBS All Access does not have an international presence as the app itself. A lot of the content is licensed and distributed through other platforms such as Amazon Prime. Do we know how this is going to impact that sort of thing? Do we know if CBS is working on developing the app for an international audience, or if this content will itself resurface in a similar fashion licensed to other third-party platforms?
Okay, to be fair, we know nothing.
Yeah. We do know that shows like Star Trek Discovery are on Netflix internationally. The Picard show will be on Amazon Prime internationally. So just because in the US you see it wind up on one service, it doesn't mean it'll be that way, especially if the service doesn't exist in your country. Like, it can't do anything if CBS All Access does not exist in England. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Better Call Saul is on AMC in the US and it's on Netflix everywhere else. I would imagine that those deals for CBS at the time for All Access to syndicate essentially Picard and Star Trek to these other places was before the whole, oh wow, we're going to be mixing up our service with this giant content monster, which again will be our parents. So hello, giant content monster. It's good to see you.
And it's not just this case. Like AT&T's DC Universe service, their Titan show is a Netflix international original, but in the US you have to be on DC Universe to stream that, or I think this first season's on Blu-ray now. Some of the shows that are more streaming oriented are on cable in the US, and they're not on any streaming unless you watch it on cable or you buy it before it goes somewhere else.
So
it's complicated.
In several years, maybe there might be these, hubs that Amazon will continue being Amazon and Netflix will continue being Netflix. I bet HBO Max will have a global presence. As for CBS All Access, are they going to get tied up with Viacom and the Showtime stuff? Is that all going to be in one giant app? Maybe.
Yeah, who knows? It's just pure speculation.
It's also, how much money could they get out of you? That's basically how all this works. Like, how much money can a company make? It's like, hey, you know what? Let's put Big Bang Theory on HBO Max and get $500 million.
Bundling is already back with the Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus deal. More bundling I expect to happen in what I would think, which would be going back to cable again.
Super bundle.
But
give me all the things I don't want. One price.
Matthew Datcher asked, does anyone actually want a truck that looks like it belongs to RoboCop? Dovetailing off of that, what if Bob the Builder fixed Cybertruck?
Well, he does fix things with hammers, so he might he could smack things on the side.
Can he fix that?
That would be a great crossover every time you got Cybertruck a little. Can he fix it?
Laughing about Elon Musk and Bob the Builder.
Does anybody want a car that looks like that? I mean,
people do, but I don't. I think for most people, they're looking and be like, "What the heck?" But there are people who are buying it, and
like 146,000 of them, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's worth noting that is a thing, and people are putting their hard-earned dollars toward it. That doesn't mean you have to, or that anyone else is, or that's even necessarily desirable.
Yeah, I think there is an audience for it, though. There cars and design, that's somewhat of a personal thing. When somebody picks a car, like, they identify it with it, unless they're like, this is a Corolla, I'm a Corolla. Yeah. I don't think anybody ever says that. When you're going to go out and buy a premium car, you're kind of seeing something about yourself in it. So are people angular and evil looking and also can be broken by steel balls? Yes.
And yet we also, to be fair, we haven't talked about the inside of the truck, which I'm hearing for fans of trucks is well kitted out. Okay. And that in itself might be the value there. Maybe it's super utilitarian, and it's like, I know that, like, it could fit an ATV in there, I was reading before we started.
Yeah, it's definitely not for like your everyday going to the supermarket kind of haul truck.
Or it'd be overkill. Little flashy overkill.
What was the price on that thing again, and how does it compare to other vehicles out on the road right now?
Mike's on that. I don't have that number in my head anywhere. I probably do. I just don't know if it corresponds to the vehicle, because I can imagine quite a number of numbers.
I was just surprised by this comment in the chat that said, it doesn't seem like a bad price compared to other trucks, which I have a hard time believing.
So reserving the Cybertruck costs $100 with options ranging from $39,900 to $69,900.
That sounds competitive, actually.
Production will begin in late 2021.
Really does. I'm honestly surprised at that price.
Looks more like a Lunar Rover than anything, I think.
Yeah. CKT's is buying one? Really? Did you put the down payment in already?
It's only $100. I think anybody could have done that. Like,
there's got to be some form of liability, though. Like,
people can just cancel their pre-order.
Yeah. So like, oh, you were serious about that? It's like, oh, sorry, I wasn't serious about that.
Wow, I'm honestly surprised at that. Keep us posted. Tell us what your experience is. We always like to hear feedback. If you have legitimately gone through with the pre-order, and if and when are they supposed to be street date?
Production late 2021. I don't know when that would mean for the release, since it always seems to be like, I remember when the Model 3s came out, people began getting them, but then it was like maybe up to a year on the wait list for some people, even if they began from the beginning putting an order in.
And Tesla's had issues meeting demand at any significant pace.
Yeah.
Wow. And DC417 is telling us that the Ford F-150 is currently at $28,000 out there. So that is a pretty competitive price. Mm-hmm. Good for you, Muskie. Good for you. Next question. Any apartment dwellers out there who have an electric vehicle, how do you deal with charging? Now, this is a great conversation to have. I don't have an electric vehicle. I don't think anyone here even owns a vehicle because we're in New York. What about this? How common are these becoming? I saw this really great viral picture the other day of somebody who converted like an ancient gas station into an electric charging station in the middle of nowhere. Are these things actually common? Because I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff when I don't need it.
I check
the
maps.
Do we know anyone on
every
staff?
now and
I know
again.
Ashley Esqueda has a Tesla out in LA, but do we have any other people around here that we know are driving electric cars at CNET?
I would think that, I don't know anybody personally that has one, but I would think that if you have it in an apartment, you're hoping that you have some kind of parking structure that supports an electric vehicle. Because I know if you go to parking garages, you'll see those spots, but I don't know how it would work in general.
I think if you're a fan of that and you happen to live in New York City, then you've already done the research as to how far you are from a charging station, and you treat that charging station like your gas station, and you get there as much as you need to. But yeah, in this urban environment, it's odds are you're not driving every day if you own the car. I mean, just from noticing from my friends who do drive, period, and they keep a car over here, it's usually more like maybe 2 to 3 times a week, maybe for a Costco run or something. But beyond that, like, it's just too much trouble in this exact environment. But elsewhere, when you have a house that's easy, at least then you plug it into your garage.
Do we have any idea what market is really kind of most saturated with electric vehicles? It's probably like Los Angeles or San Francisco, right?
I would be taking a guess here, man.
Yeah. I wasn't sure.
I'm going to say Oklahoma City because I have no idea.
Saskatchewan. Next question, shifting gears over to Samsung. Brian says, I know a lot of YouTubers focus a lot on phone cameras, but do the average people actually care that much? Are phone manufacturers spending too much money on camera development? I want to go ahead and jump on board with this argument too. Are they spending too much on cameras and not enough on the damn phone itself?
No. When it comes to screen technology, that's kind of, you can cram more pixels into it. You get maybe the things that you want in the future are cameras underneath the display, so that way you have this uninterrupted this display in the front. When it comes to something that's easily toutable and something that's easily shown, it's definitely camera quality. So even though they're putting more and more efforts in the back, there are other bells and whistles I think people do take advantage of that they don't even know that they're paying attention to like optical image stabilization. Like, why isn't that picture blurry? It's because it fixed it for you. Or if it's a low light situation, if you don't have to think about it and your phone is doing that and taking it at the right exposure, that's really helpful as well. So I think since the camera is so important on a phone at this point, like the other apps are almost negligible. It's like, does Facebook run on it? Yeah. Does Twitter run on it? Yeah. Does this, that, and the other thing? Yeah, fine, whatever. But how are the photos? And the other thing is, I've always been staring at phones for their video quality, but the only one that seems to really service that is LG, which shows you nobody else is really thinking or caring about how great is the video quality. Yes, iPhone's got great photos, but that seems to be the real focus, no pun intended, of these phone companies.
LG's phone also has like really good speakers, and I think music is an area that people use their phones for more than they realize, without headphones even. And so like them, and part of the reason why I even got the Pixel phone last year is because at the time they were the only ones with really good night quality, night sight.
Yeah, night sight.
But now every single manufacturer has that. In some way or another, it's different on like the iPhone version of it's different from the Samsung version of it, different from the current Pixel version.
But they're also way beyond what we had like years ago.
Yeah.
So even the worst one right now is way better.
Yeah. What I mean to say with that is that like there's so much room on that services side that I feel like you can only go so far on the hardware side and only get so ridiculous. But if you can keep improving how the phone actually works and the device actually works, there's a sellable argument there if it actually does improve your lifestyle.
It's time to speculate wildly. What is that rogue 6 camera-ish dot in that camera bump?
It's a laser sight. It fires out a laser on your targets, and
Heat vision.
and that's how it works. Heat vision. As for infrared imagery, it's like the Predator. So if you want to make sure you can see body temperatures, also it can see through walls. It can do all of these things.
Or radar, but I don't think, even though that's in the newest Pixel, I don't think radar is where we're moving toward unless something drastically different changes with the Pixel 4 that makes it so much more useful with it.
Yeah, it could find you. It'll ping your body.
Oh gosh, no.
There you go.
You think realistically it's something along the lines of 3D or augmented reality implications?
I mean, maybe it could be a second time of
Like
flight
a
sensor.
3D scanner kind of thing.
Well, I mean, that's how you can use the combination of the cameras and the time of flight, because it can determine how far away something is. Maybe it does make it easier to scan things in real time. I think was it the S10 or the Note? They actually did show off some kind of thing where you could like rotate around an object and like make it dance. I remember it was like a teddy bear or something bizarre. So maybe that's what it's for. Dancing teddy bears.
And let's go out on a high note today and talk about Nickelodeon. Let's get nostalgic.
Okay.
I wish they would have given us more details, because honestly, that's the only story I care about today.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear at the end of the show. Thanks for not saying that in the beginning of it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it was not that it was buried in the press release, but it was like, I think, third line, like top line, service launches, Cloudy the Chance Meatballs Danger, service begins. Final line of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 headline: Nickelodeon joining growing roster of children's programming.
Yeah, that's the thing most people care about, and I don't think CBS All Access realized that would be the big hook.
Or they knew, but they knew they couldn't say any properties because it's still being figured out, and so they wanted it in there, but they didn't want to top line that and then be expected to provide from that point on. Having Inspector Gadget, by the way, I think is a big... I remember watching that on Nickelodeon, even though it's not a Nickelodeon show per se. But
well, didn't Nickelodeon make new episodes of it somewhat recently, or Netflix did, or somebody
Netflix did.
Didn't they like reboot it? In
there's
CG?
actually like a triple Inspector Gadget thing right now, where CBS All Access apparently has the classic show, and then Disney Plus has the Matthew Broderick Inspector Gadget and the sequel starring French Stewart. Check me on the actor for the second one.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
And and then yes, Netflix has the brand new Inspector Gadget series. So odds are, if you're paying for streaming, you're gonna get Inspector Gadget on something right now in one way or another.
That is a strange property to be everywhere. X-Men, nowhere. But Inspector Gadget, everywhere.
I thought X-Men was on Disney Plus now.
Not yet. I mean, the cartoon is.
Yeah.
But not the movies,
Oh, yeah. Well, those are Fox properties, so
which
who knows?
Disney owns.
Yes.
And occasionally pop into HBO in terms of that cycle that has nothing to do with...
Deadpool's available on FX now, right now. Like, none of this makes sense. But yeah, so Inspector Gadget everywhere. I'm really curious what they're gonna get, because if it's exclusive, are they gonna be originals? Are they gonna be what? Like, it's unknown.
I think they are really missing an opportunity to pander to the millennial, as we all live and breathe by our nostalgic and our IPs that we grew up on. Like, I'd give my right arm to have Ninja Turtles out there somewhere. What the hell, CBS?
But that could happen later, perhaps.
I'm probably going to get fired for that statement. But
that might happen later, though. The episodes they have access to, they might eventually bring over.
They might also they're probably trying to figure out how to do, this has already been done though. I'm thinking about the international version of Turtles where you have the whole nunchuck problem. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, but that's been long since put to bed.
So they would have to have
called ninjas heroes.
Right, but they would have to serve up that version of Turtles in each country, right?
I guess.
You'd have to check your local laws to see if Ninja Turtles is viewable. Then again, the movies must be somewhere, right?
There's so many different kinds of movies with different rights.
I think the new Michael Bay movies are like on Amazon Prime or something, if I remember correctly.
There's Prime, and I think IMDb TV has Out of the Shadows.
Oh yeah, they do have that one. Yeah.
Yes, you can
I
watch
bookmarked that.
Out of the Shadows with pro wrestler Sheamus and also giant CG turtles.
Mm-hmm.
Pro wrestler Sheamus was easily the best part of that movie.
And Stephen Amell from Arrow.
That's true.
He was still in that movie?
He was easily the worst part of that movie.
Sequel.
Oh man.
I think I just ticked off.
The high note has disappeared. Can we go back somewhere else before we sign off?
All right, what do we all want to see as far as Nickelodeon properties? I want classic Nicktoons. Even though they are out there right now, a lot of them are on Hulu with Rugrats, Hey Arnold. Mike, you mentioned the reboot movies like Invader Zim, Rocko's Modern Life are on Netflix. But I really wish I could see Ren and Stimpy come back to life somewhere, even though there's a lot of controversy surrounding the creator of that show. Look it up. I don't want to get into it here.
The Rugrats reboot series is still on tap to debut sometime in the next year or two. And if that came out with this at any point, it doesn't have to be now, but even later, that would be pretty cool.
Does that mean that will come to CBS All Access too?
Who knows? We don't know. Yeah. But
it's all speculation now.
But it'd be cool.
I'm with you on Ren and Stimpy. It's always fun to explain space madness and not having to go to Daily Motion to show what that means.
Yeah, right. Eric wants to see Double Dare. Brian wants to see Doug. Doug was a classic, but let's be clear, it has to be the Nickelodeon Doug, not the Disney Doug, because that was trash.
I have been watching Disney's Doug on Disney Plus though, because it's there and the people it's still the voice actors, it's still the creators. You should still support them
because it's there.
You should still support them though. No, you should still support the people who made Nickelodeon Doug. A lot of them were on Disney's Doug as well.
But it was Billy West who continued doing the voice of Doug.
It was? I thought he left it.
I think it changed for Disney.
Did it change?
But not everyone was changed out.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Rich, what about you? What Nickelodeon classics are you into?
I didn't watch much Nickelodeon.
No?
I didn't have cable as a kid.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay. Put you on the spot.
I know.
No nostalgia for it or whatever? Nothing?
No.
All right. Mike, what about you?
I mean, I loved the Hey Arnold movie that came out.
The new one, the recent one?
Yeah, it was sad to me that I don't think it got the viewership that was hoped for, but it did everything I wanted it to in terms of like having a story that tied up a lot of loose ends. I'm not going to spoil it, but you should still watch it anyway. But it does tie up a lot of anything you were wondering about Hey Arnold, in terms of his parents, in terms of Helga, in terms of why South America was involved, because the show originally ended teeing up with this movie that didn't get made in mid-2000s and got made and debuted about a year ago now.
I know nothing of this.
Okay.
Until right now.
Yeah, no, it was a very long wait to get those answers that were, I think, that were originally meant to be in the mid-2000s, but then something happened that stopped that from happening then, and then a whole bunch of time later, they were able to come around and like finish off that story.
To be clear, we're not talking about rebooting all of these. We're just talking about bringing back the originals and putting them on a platform so they can be watched. They'll never try to reboot Ren and Stimpy again. They tried it once. It failed miserably. So yeah, that's not even a consideration on the table right now. Anything else that we're forgetting? Like, what about like Global Guts?
You can't do that on television, all that?
I could see the Wild Thornberrys ending up on any of the services because even though it's not like
Rocket
90s, but it was very, like it hit that educational entertainment middle ground and then made a really good, their first movie was very good.
I don't know, people need to see Kenan Thompson as the French guy in the bathtub. Right, like I forget what his character's name is, but it's one of the funniest bits on that show.
I agree. Oh man, all that was pretty darn good. I would love to see. Well, no, they just brought that back too, didn't they?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, like with a whole new cast and everything. It's interesting the legacy that came out of that, and the fact that Kenan Thompson is one of the longest running cast members on SNL now. Never thought we'd see that day.
Pierre Escargot.
Thank you.
Pierre Escargot. Oh my God. I'm just going to go watch all this after this. I'm not going to get any work done.
A lot of
today.
the older cast members are also appearing on that new All That, which I've only watched like the skits because they put the skits on YouTube with the original cast members who are guest starring in it.
Oh, cool.
So Lori Beth Denberg was in some, Josh Server was in some, Keenan since he's involved. Show itself I haven't personally watched, but hopefully it resonates with today's kids. I would like that. I would like that show to exist continually for whoever the kids are.
That show was ridiculously good.
It was. All right, we're out of time. Tomorrow we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to have a very casual show. Probably not going to brush on any news. Depending, if anything breaks, we'll of course cover it. But we're looking forward to just kind of having an easy day and having a fun conversation about your favorite intellectual property. So go ahead and start getting the juices flowing and think about this. Keep sounding off with your favorite nostalgia here on Nickelodeon. I'd love to hear more. Help spark my memory if I've forgotten anything. But more importantly, if you got any ideas for the show tomorrow, it's going to be me and Roger and a player to be named, and we're going to have a Desert Island episode. So the idea is what intellectual property, what franchise would you bring to you on a desert island? So, for example, if you love Star Wars, you got access to every Star Wars movie, TV show, video game, and any possible way, necessity to consume that media, but you can never see anything else ever again. No Harry Potter, no DC, no Nickelodeon, no anything. Those are the rules. So we want to get your thoughts on this. Tweet at us, bring it to the show tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have kind of a fun day right before the big Thanksgiving holiday, because obviously we're going to be off for another day there. So we're going to fulfill that with a kind of screw-off show. But until then, thanks everybody for joining us, and Ayaz, take us on out.
Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you can join us here live every weekday morning, except the days we're not here. If you have the chance, check out the links below to learn more about today's topics. Also, go subscribe to our audio podcasts that are on every platform ever. For the Daily Charge, I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And I'm Mike Sorrentino.
Thanks for joining us.
Can't get enough? Check out The Daily Supercharge, our extended post show with special features, audience Q&A, and in-depth reviews. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.